on this computer. Hello, welcome everyone. This is Bridges Live Presents You Be the Judge, and we're here every Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Here on your broadcast channel. You can catch all your YouTube and Facebook and all your where you get all your social media podcast things and links, and we'll go through there. But we're here every Wednesday, and you can always recapture us again on my YouTube channel, Dr. Paul Dyer. Along with that is we're going to get right into the show. We have people admitting into the live feed. Those of you listening to the live feed of the podcast on iHeart, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, we actually have people who join us in every week. And sometimes, Teresa, that they don't join us because we missed them. But I'd like to welcome my other two lovely co-hosts, Marilyn Pierre, who ran for Circuit Court Judge at Montgomery County, and then Judge Claudia Barber. But Judge Claudia Barber she's not here. She's usually doing something else, is busy, and she'll get here when she can. But Marilyn, how's your week been?
Oh, my week has been terrific. It has been uneventful, so that's good. But lots of things have been happening around the county and lots of really, really interesting things. And I hope we get a chance to touch on them.
Well, we always like to touch on a couple of things, and I love what we do. And I think we emphasize a couple of things. We do information, understanding, and action. We are getting informed. We talk about current events and things that's going on, and hopefully we could talk about some understandings that individuals have, we have collectively, universally, and then hopefully you take that information and you can put it into an action so you can go do something in your community and where you are and where you live and how you are living, because that's the most important thing. It is about action. It's not just about listening. It's not just about being informed. It's truly about putting things in action. And of course, we'll get to the Georgia vote eventually, sooner than later. But so what did you say you had something going on in your life this week, Marilyn? What was it? What?
No, I mean, some of the things that have been going on in the county. Well, first of all, you know that there was a historically Black church in Montgomery County that was vandalized. There's even a video of it. Well, I'm sorry, there's even a video of the people going into the church. It is, oh God, Scotland. Do you know what Scotland is? That historically Black neighborhood off of Seven Locks Road in Potomac?
No, I don't even know the church. So hold on. So there's video of people vandalizing the church.
Well, there's how do I say it? there are people coming into this video of people coming into the church to vandalize the church. And if you give me a second, I could actually show the video, because the police are showing the video, and hope that people look at the video so that way they could then help identify the people who have vandalized the church.
Well, let's see.
Yes, Scotland AME Church. Yeah,
what's been our first information about churches? We know that what was the year when the first church that was so traumatic that people died in, that the church bombing? What year was that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in Birmingham.
Yeah, what year was that? Was that
1963? I think so.
63, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, we know churches have been burned down through Reconstruction, because that's where Blacks used to meet. And so this type of violence has been going on since Reconstruction, after the Civil War. It doesn't seem like, when it comes to Black churches, that it was ever an issue against harming a Black church. It's against harming a synagogue. It's against harming a mosque, because people were doing that after 9/11, which is disgusting. Hurting and vandalizing mosque, and laws came out so fast that you should not denigrate a mosque or synagogue. But when it comes to Black churches, it doesn't get reported. It doesn't get national news. It doesn't get condemned by any administration ever. So,
Well, actually, it's kind of interesting because in the past couple of weeks, there have been acts of hatred in Montgomery County, one of which includes acts of hatred against the Jewish community. And the article that I am going to share with you actually has a link to that. So I don't know what is happening in Montgomery County and why it is that people
Well-
feel comfortable.
well, I think it, I'm not an alarmist and I'm not a
Mhm.
conspiracy theorist, but I think we're going to have pushback of having a Black governor. And I think, Jews for Justice who want to see a good governor in the state, I think there could be pushback for us having a Black governor in Maryland. And so when people listen to this on a podcast, when we talk about Montgomery County, we're actually talking about Montgomery County, Maryland. I know a lot of
Mhm.
times we talk so unfamiliar because the people we're talking with and around, we know where we are. But if you listen to this on a podcast and you know where we are, we're in Montgomery, we're in Maryland, and we're talking about Montgomery County, Maryland. And Montgomery County, Maryland is the largest county in Maryland and one of the richest county in Maryland. And also that has the highest arrest rate for Black people in Maryland. I don't know. It doesn't seem like Montgomery County is a great place to live, but because it's a bedroom community for DC, and we have Bethesda right there, and what's the other little town next to Chevy Chase? We have some.
We have Potomac,
Affluent,
we have
yeah,
Rockville, Gaithersburg,
Yeah, we have some
Germantown. I think
affluent people.
Gaithersburg, well, Gaithersburg's claim to fame is that they used to be the most diverse city in the United States, but now I think they're the second most diverse city in the United States.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
So,
but let me get, oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to know if it was okay to share the
yeah,
video now.
share the video.
Okay, so. Okay.
As we
so
bring up the
let
video,
me-
I think Marilyn Pierre is going to be showing the video of the vandalism. Yeah. Volume.
Oh, it does, there's no video, I'm sorry, there's
Okay.
no audio to it. It just says on Friday, November 25. Okay, let me go back a little bit. So you're right. People who don't have audio won't be able to hear. Oops. Okay, let's go back. So let me read it. This is from the Montgomery County Police. It's a video that they made of the people outside the church. I guess there were cameras outside the church that caught these people as they were walking in. And the video starts off by saying, on Friday, November 25, 2022, these suspects forced entry into the Scotland AME Zion Church in the 10,900 block of 7 Locks Road in Potomac. And so there's a video of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Wow.
7 people.
Yeah, and but it looks like they're teenagers. I have to give them that. It looks like there's 2 females with them. The reason why, as we're looking at the video, I think they're youth, I think they're young people, is because of the mannerisms of how they were walking.
Mhm.
And the video says that $10,000 is being offered as a reward if anybody has any information on this. And the video is an attachment to an article in the patch. I could put the link to it. Well, I could put the link in the chat.
Which is
Yeah, it's
fascinating because it says Elbridge condemns racist vandalism, historical Black church, but he does not stand up for the Black cemetery.
Well, see, that is something else that I wanted to talk about. See, this is what I was talking about in terms of the anti-Semitic graffiti that was found along the Bethesda trolley trail.
Okay.
That's a recent issue as well. So let me put the link in the chat in case somebody wants to look at it, but it is
What do you got,
patch.com.
Teresa? You look like you're budding over there.
Yes,
I
I
see
was
you.
gonna ask you, Dr. Dyer, would that be fodder for the Emmett Till alert system, this particular vandalism?
So what Teresa's talking about is that we established an Intel alert system here in Maryland, and the Caucus of African American Leaders established an Intel alert system. You can be a part of that alert system. You just, if you want to, just contact me and I'll put you in and get your information. So when racial incidents happens across the state, we get notified, and we vet it out to make sure it's not a racial incident. But if it is, we push it out to everyone who's on the alert system, let them know what's going on, where it's going on, and what is happening too. And it just has to be a racial incident. It doesn't have to be to just the Black community, but it can be to any racial issues whatsoever. So to answer your question, Teresa, is that I have not heard about that. And now that I will go back in later after the show, and it has already been deemed a racist incident. So we could put this out as an Intel alert, right?
Yeah, because we talked about putting the anti-Semitic graffiti on the Emmett Till alert as well. And I think that was actually done, because that was a couple of weeks ago. And we knew about that incident, I think the morning after, but this incident we didn't know about, which is kind of interesting because someone pointed out, someone who heard the county executive's inaugural speech pointed out that he talked about race, but he did not talk about this incident that just happened. And so you yourself, Dr. Dyer, talked about the Bethesda Cemetery issue. He didn't talk about that. There's an issue in Lincoln Park. He didn't talk about that. There is an issue in Tobytown.
Yes.
He didn't talk about that, and now an issue in Scotland. So a lot of people who pay attention to these matters are really disappointed in him, and the fact that he seems to be fueling some of these issues that those historically Black communities are having.
Did I hear that he had a commercial for Obey? I think my husband was telling me that he saw the governor in a commercial about Obey seasoning or something. Did anybody see that?
Are you talking about the current governor?
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Governor Hogan
Yeah.
did a commercial for Old Bay seasoning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, how do you guys feel about that? Because I mean, we are a crab state, so and Old Bay goes hand in hand with crabs.
It's just so much
laughing at me. I didn't see the commercial. I wonder if I could find it, in which case maybe we can share that.
Hogan is fighting. He can't be president. He won't win that, but he can be a good vice president.
Well, after our last president, I don't know if I could say Kim anymore.
No, what I'm saying is that he doesn't have the money that would take him to win over as many people that Trump could or would. And besides, that's not Hogan. Hogan is a moderate, right? And I think he'll make a good vice president. That's what I think. I think he will make a good vice president, but I don't think he'll make a good president. He does not have the chops for it.
Like I said, I never say never anymore. Not only that, but it's not like our last president spent a lot of his money.
Yeah, but he's able to get money.
But
he's able to get money.
He got a lot of free commercials and a lot of free advertisement, I should say.
Go ahead,
Holly. I think I see the Old Bay seasoning commercial. If anybody wants me to play it for them. Yes, play it. Yeah,
play it.
I just have never seen it, so I'm curious, and because I'm curious, everybody else has to suffer through it. So let me do that and put that on. I hope there's not.
If this can could talk, it would tell you about the men who built the first Liberty ship at Sparrows Point. About the kids who rode the number 8 streetcar every Saturday to the Waverly. About the day Harry Truman came to dedicate the new Friendship Airport. About the greatest game ever played. It would tell you about the grand department stores that lined Howard Street. And about the 7 African Americans who on that same street staged the nation's first lunch counter sit-in. About the tall ships that sailed into the inner harbor for the bicentennial. About Wild Bill cheering us to victory in '83. And an old train warehouse that became a diamond. If this can could talk, it would tell you about the generations who have gathered in backyards and screen porches and dining rooms to celebrate the original flavor of Baltimore. Old Bay, for 75 years, it's been the can that connects us.
Well,
Okay, I played the wrong one, sorry.
but
yeah.
yeah, Holly, you were going to say something.
I was just going to ask you if you were aware of how many vetoes the legislature overrode of the governor's. The governor vetoed so many things, and most of them were just summarily overridden. But I don't
And he
think,
took credit for it when people said how good it was. So he vetoed it. And then when
Yeah.
people said how
Well,
good
hold
that these
on.
bills were passed, he took credit for it.
As a governor, I too would have vetoed a bill knowing it would get passed. So you got to ask yourself, why veto it on a state level when it doesn't, when the things he vetoed didn't track nationally? So I would veto it also knowing that I can get national understanding that I didn't agree with this, but on the state level, I knew it could pass. So it's like he could do no wrong in his last 4 years, because even if you agree with it state-wise, but nationally, it didn't chop up well as a Republican, I could veto it knowing it would pass. It's a win.
Well, as someone who's paying his salary, I don't appreciate that, because I pay you to make my life easier and the life of the legislators whose salaries I'm also paying easier. And I don't pay you to pay politics because you have
What?
aspirations for
Did you
higher
just say you
office.
don't pay him to play politics? You
Because
hire
you have
politicians.
aspirations for higher office. You know, I pay you to do the job that I'm paying you for. If you have aspirations for higher office, then do that on your own time, on your own dime. Mr. Friedman? Oh, you on mute. Yeah, you're still muted.
He's looking. They got
Just- just hit your space bar. Just hit your space. You'll get it.
Okay.
There we go.
Do
Yay.
we know what percentage of the bills that he vetoed were not overridden?
Very few. I think I'll get the data on that.
Thanks,
But,
Holly.
but the point was they were, as said by the person who reported this, who was in the legislature, you know, that they were good bills that were overridden. But more than that, I've got to say, I don't think it was widespread that we knew how many times he vetoed something. And it was, we didn't, because it was overridden and it was carried out.
Right.
Mhm.
But you get, like I said, he was playing very good politics in his last 4 years because he knew he wanted to run. He wants a presidential bid. He would like that. And
Or maybe even senatorial, because I think
that's a
he's
bad move.
looking- Well, he's looking for 2 years from now, where our senior senator,
I think going from
retired.
governor to senator is a bad move. That's political suicide.
May I ask one more question?
yes, you
Okay.
may, but it'll cost you a dime.
I
Go
just
ahead.
forgot it. Okay, onwards. I just forgot it.
Oh,
Oh,
So-
I'm sorry. We were talking about how he might not be interested in the senatorial race that's coming up 2 years from now, since our senior
Okay,
federal
right.
senator might retire. Did it come back to you?
How old is Cardin?
He's in his late 70s, early 80s. I'll look that up and let
Holly,
you
you're
know in
also
a
on mute.
moment.
Oh, I'm sorry. He was born October of 73. Sorry,
Yeah, so-
43.
oh, he's
So he's
40
77 is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
what-
according to
no, no,
Wikipedia, he's 79.
70,
79.
you keep hitting your space bar, Holly, and you're going.
sorry.
Yeah, so according to Wikipedia, he's 79. So 2 years from
That's
now,
right.
when he has to run for re-election, he'll be 81. So the
I-
rumor has
I-
been going around that he is going to retire, which would mean that there would be no incumbent in that spot. And a lot of people have been preparing.
I
for when
I am
Democratic
going
Party
on record, on public record. I'm done with anyone over 60 running for office.
That's ageism.
Bite your tongue. Bite your-
I
And not only that, but I don't have that far to go before I get to over 60.
I know.
So
I'm
that's
just.
ageism, and I will not stand for it.
I just done, and like, just recently in Arkansas, we had the 18-year-old kid just won his mayor race, the youngest
Uh-huh.
mayor in the United States. He's 18 years old. Was it Jalen Smith?
Oh, interesting.
But do we know what he doesn't know?
Oh, no, but he'll learn.
We hope.
He'll learn. But what I'm saying is that I just think we have all the old hats in office, and we have not. It's hard for us to bring things into new when we have what you call cultural and racial biasness from their historical issues. They just do not change what they're thinking and doing. It's tougher for them.
I don't know, because in Montgomery County, I think since term limits have been put in,
This year,
there's been some really, really interesting developments. And I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't that be interesting to look at it at the state level? Well,
Yep.
term limits are somewhat at the state level since the governor could only run for 2 terms, but that's the only position that is term limited. The rest aren't. So maybe we should explore that, because Will, you wanted to say something?
Oh, I remembered the question. If the governor vetoes a bill
Mhm.
and the legislature passes it over the veto,
Mhm.
how much additional delay was there before the bill becomes effective?
I
In
think
other words, does a veto, even if it's overridden, have an effect of slowing down the effective date of the bill?
Yes.
Does it? Because most of the bills have an effective date of, what did they
But-
say, October 1st?
Yeah.
Right, so they passed a bill before the legislative session closes. So if the governor vetoes it, they then, pass the bill over his veto, since there's a supermajority of Democrats in the legislature. But the bill would not have taken effect most of the time until October 1st anyway. So I don't think most of the time there is a delay. I could be corrected.
Okay.
It couldn't, it can't, if it's done at the end of the legislature has to come back in session to override it. So that's a delay.
Okay,
I don't remember that. That hasn't happened for many years. I know that they've come back for emergency sessions, but I don't remember that. Or maybe they're doing it virtually, so it's not
Michelle Minor,
as,
Evangelist Minor. Go ahead.
I was trying to understand what Will said as far as if the bill is vetoed, the legislators can come back and override the bill. Is that because of the legislation is made up of the House of Representatives? They have more power.
He's,
the-
well,
he's very much in the minority. So that's why his vetoes have not been made
Public.
public.
Oh.
Been really,
Evangelist Minor is not
excoriated
from
because-
Maryland, so, sorry, Evangelist Minor is not from Maryland, so we need to go back and try to explain it to her
Yeah.
a little bit more. We're
I mean,
talking
very,
about the
very
state
few of
Maryland.
his bills have been,
Well, her question is,
his veto have been effective.
well, I think her question is she's trying to understand the veto power. So the governor vetoes a bill, the House of Legislation, because it's majority Democratic in Maryland, they overran his veto so they can pass the bill, right? And then so it takes into effect.
And the legislation is based on what?
Well, the people who are in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Maryland, we have the House of Delegates. So our, I guess our state legislatures, our version of Congress members are
Right.
delegates.
That's what
And our version of US senators on the federal level are
Okay.
state senators
That's what I,
on the state level. So so Maryland is, well, both houses, both the House of Delegates and the Senate in Maryland, they're overwhelmingly Democratic, but we have a Republican governor. So like Dr. Dyer was saying, the Republican governor, because we think he has aspirations for other offices, let's say, we're not going to say higher office. He has aspirations for other public office. Sometimes he will veto a bill. So the House of Delegates and the Senate pass a bill. The governor will veto that bill, meaning that he won't sign that bill into law because he is playing politics. He wants to look good in the eyes of Republicans. He thinks might
Nationally.
support him when he
Nationally.
runs for, well, yeah, the Republicans and the National Republican Party when he runs for other political office. So because there is a super majority of Democrats, the Democrats want that bill to become law anyway. So when the Republican governor, Governor Larry Hogan, vetoes them, the House, the legislatures in the state of Maryland pass it over his veto. So then the governor goes and says, well, I didn't sign the bill because he wants to, like I said, appease people. He wants to support him later on in his political career.
Because he has to get national capital as a Republican, which he doesn't have.
Exactly.
Which he doesn't.
But
have.
we have term limits in the state of Maryland, and this is his second term. So we, on January 18th, we are going to have a new governor. We're going
Are
to
you
have,
going to inaugurate? Are you going to go and witness it?
I don't know. I'm still thinking about that. I haven't, has anybody ever been to an inauguration before for governor? I've never been, so
I
I
have.
don't know. Oh, tell us about it.
Well,
How do you get tickets? How do you,
well,
where is it?
I don't know where Maryland's going to have it, but they're going to have it outdoors where
Mm-hmm.
people can witness like the presidential inauguration. So
Okay, I think what is it at the Navy Stadium
mhm.
is where I have heard them having it in the past. I've never been, but I think something might have come across.
I think this is going to be huge. This is going to be
email.
huge.
Oh yeah, this is going to be huge. I heard that our governor-elect was on Trevor Noah today.
He was not today, but last week or this week. Or
Last week?
earlier.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
He was. I
Okay.
mean, when you're on Trevor Noah, I mean, and he looked good.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure we could see it on YouTube. So
So going back to Georgia, I don't know how you felt about Herschel Walker, and I'm not sure if it matters or doesn't matter. But
I'm not
here's
sure he cares how I felt about him.
the problem I have about the Georgia. I'm looking at the vote, and you have 100,000. You have 118,000 that were Warnock, and Walker had 117, over 117. There's 10 million people in Georgia.
Well, how many of them are eligible to vote?
Okay, if we look at the numbers are upsetting.
Well, I mean, you always get upset about the number of people who don't vote, but then there are countries where they have like 99% of the, okay, fine, I won't say 99, 93% of the people voting or something like that. And we know what kind of country those are. So I think we sort of like have to think about it. Do we want a country where they claim that 90-something% of the people vote and we and they vote for one person. Do we want a country where people have the right to vote even if they don't vote? And then you have to, well, Senator Warnock himself talked about voter suppression and how long the lines were, and
It's 10
how
million
many people.
Maryland, it's 10 million people that are in Georgia. And you're
But
saying
how many are
only a
eligible
half a
to
million
vote?
people voted?
How
No,
many
no,
are
no.
eligible? It's like I don't know.
No, 3
Does
million
anybody
people
know?
voted.
3 million?
3 million, yeah.
Okay, I read it wrong?
Um, in today's paper, it's 1,500,000 for each guy.
Okay, so it's 1.8 million, so 3 million.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I'm not even sure if I like that number. It's better than the number I was thinking of.
And the Republicans did everything in their power to reduce the number of voters. And the
Exactly.
Republicans succeeded.
everything
They
in their
almost,
power.
they almost,
the number
they
of
almost pulled it
voters.
off. Teresa,
Yes.
you were gonna say something?
No, I was just listening at this point, because I know that in politics and statistics, usually you don't expect more than a third to really
Vote.
cast the vote anyway. So I would say that if you're talking 10 million and 3 million, you're getting at that critical
That level.
mass. Yes.
Mhm.
And before we,
And also one of the things that the Democrats kept talking about doing that I did not agree with them with is the number of early voting days, because I think in
Well,
some places they wanted 3 weeks of early voting,
Right.
as opposed to 1 week of early voting. And I could tell you from someone who has run for office, if you don't have money in your campaign and there are 3 weeks of early voting, that is a huge disadvantage to you, because you have to get people to cover those dates and times that the polls are open, in the hope that somebody would be trickling in and you could get those votes. And the more money a campaign has, when they could just pay someone to be there from the time the polls open to the time the polls close, the more advantageous it is to that well-financed campaign. So I don't agree with having the polls open for 3 weeks, because first of all, I'm thinking as a taxpayer, all that tax money to pay people to be there, that's also an issue. And as I stated, also as a candidate, it's an issue because you have to have deep pockets to cover those polls. So we have to find a happy medium between having polls open long enough to allow people to vote without feeling like they're being rushed, but not having it open so much that only deep pocket people get the advantage of the people who are voting at the polls during early voting. And I understand why I didn't hear what you said, because you were on and off mute. And I understand what you're saying in terms of more people need to vote. Yeah, that I think I don't think anybody here disagrees with. And we all know why there's voter suppression, because voter suppression only works in only is done in certain places. I was listening to the radio where this guy was saying, well, I'm a white guy. I've never had to wait more than 10 minutes in a line to vote. And when I hear about all these people who wait for hours and hours on end, it shocks me. And I didn't hear it this time, but last time there was a gubernatorial race in Prince George's County. People were waiting there for hours and hours. And that's just, Prince George's County, one of the really, really rich counties. I think it's the richest majority African-American county in the whole in the whole country. And people had to wait hours and hours to vote because of voter suppression. So okay, why can't we hear you? I hear are you trying to speak, Dr. Dyer? Okay, okay, so does anybody want to respond to that? Because it's great to have people vote, but we sort of like have to take all the different interests in mind and then decide, well, what's best for everybody. And not everybody's going to be happy with everything, but I think, like I said, 3 weeks of early voting was just too much for a small campaign.
Yeah, I had tech issues I had to fix, but
Okay.
yeah, to answer your question, I'm glad you brought up the money issue, because until we fix money in elections, we're always going to have that issue. And
Mhm.
again, the Democrats missed a lot of the voting rules about voting before a holiday, after a holiday. So it was very tricky around these holidays when the polls could open and how they close. So it was a lot of these small line items that people just really couldn't get out to vote. And I think that's part of the voting suppression that even Will was talking about.
Yeah, and uh, they said that Senator Warnock was the first Black person, I think they use the word Black, to have been voted in the South since Reconstruction, to have been voted in as a United States Senator in the South since Reconstruction. And wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
I didn't know
Well,
that.
who has been voted in for a full term, I guess.
Full term,
since he was
right.
voted in for, but yeah, that is incredible to me. And when people talk about law and the judicial system and judges and things of that sort, that's what I think of, because I think about Reconstruction and how
Mhm.
much progress was being made.
Right.
And laws were passed, Jim Crow's laws were passed, or the Black codes were passed, saying that you could only do this, you could only do that. And then you
Now we
had the
know Jim
courts.
Crow's got a new pair of shoes.
I'm sorry.
I think Jim Crow's got a new pair of shoes and is dressed up better.
What,
Well,
what
we're
about,
hoping that if Jim Crow rears its ugly head, we could just whack it.
what
And
about
make
Tim
it
Scott?
right.
Tim Scott was voted in.
You're right. Yes,
Yeah.
that's true. Okay,
Uh-huh.
yeah, you're right. I think they were wrong. You're right. Yes, there's Tim Scott. Forgot about him.
So before people got on the air, something came up that I think we ought to talk about, because all of our current events is, does anyone know what's going on in Haiti? Let's go with that. We know in Haiti, the Americans are going to intervene again. I know I was there when we went in there in '94 as a soldier. And now we have other issues. Marilyn, do you want to talk? This is your homeland. Do you want to talk about what's going on there, or how you feel about the Americans getting in there again?
Oh gosh, I hope that they will stay away, because I mean, we have been hated so much by the Americans, and it didn't go over my head that oh gosh, I was going to say Trudeau. Oh gosh, who's the president of France? Starts with an M. Yeah, it
Macron.
did.
Macron.
Macron, thank you very much. It didn't go over my head that he just visited recently. I thought, and he went to Louisiana and did all those kinds of things. And I think the French have always been so upset at Haiti for beating them, who at the time they were the biggest, most powerful army in the whole world. And here comes these French people with rocks and stones and basically beat them and kicked them out of the country and won their independence, becoming the first Black independent country in this hemisphere. The French has never forgiven us, which is
No.
why 20 years later they came back and said, well, you either going to, 19 years later? Yeah, they came back and said, you either going to pay us reparations or we're going to start bombing you. And the reparations they wanted was more than the gross national product of the country. So that's why Haiti is so poor, because for centuries, for centuries, they have been paying reparations to France
Sense.
that is more than the gross national product. So Haiti is not poor because it doesn't have resources. It has lots and lots of resources, which is why the French wanted it. And in addition to the resources, the French wanted it because the French wanted to make a post out of it so it could invade the United States.
Correct.
So everybody in this country who says, I'm so glad that we speak English, well, you speak English because of the Haitians.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you would be speaking French. Because the French could have had a two-front war against the United States, you know, from coming from north from Canada and then south from Haiti.
Haiti.
Yeah. So anyway, so we have always been hated and we understand that,
Mhm.
but freedom has always been
At a
extremely
cost.
important to us. And we don't want to, you know, we don't want to be subservient to anybody else. And the United States cannot understand that. And rather than leave us alone so that we could, you know, we could run our own country, they instead keep on interfering and putting up these puppet leaders
Yeah.
who do the United States' bidding because because they want money, basically. Yeah, that's it. And so
And they want the
I
port.
don't know one Haitian that I've spoken with who is in agreement with this interference.
Well, right now they're talking about the gang violence, and they're talking about all of these gangs that are stopping oil from getting to inside. Well, it's disrupting economic activity in Haiti. And so I think now Canadian mission is going into Haiti, but that's why they're saying America wants to intervene, but they can't get partners to go along with them to do a massive intervention. But it's about these, well, they're saying these roving gangs.
Well,
Let's be
I'm curious, are they concerned about the gangs or concerned about the cheap labor that the Americans use Haiti for, and now they can't get their cheap product back to the mainland United States? So, you know, you always have to be skeptical about when the United States would say, we want to help. They want to help because it's serving them, not because it's serving Haiti.
And
Well-
another thing they were talking about is the Dominican Republic. They're saying that darker skinned Black people should not go to the Dominican Republic, or they are being mistaken for Haitians now. And
Yeah.
so this government has given an advisory that people of my hue should not go to the Dominican Republic because of that also.
Yeah, they are extremely racist. But the problem actually is this. What happened when Moise was assassinated was that the United States came in and, well, okay, let me back up a little bit. Moise overstayed his term, which is why I think a lot of people were concerned about him staying that long, because his term was supposed to be over in February. And he was killed in July of, I forgot exactly what year. So he overstayed his term. He was assassinated. The United States put in a puppet figure, and then they did not call for elections.
Right.
And that's what the issue is. The issue is you're putting your own person in there. You didn't call for elections even after that. We have no idea when this guy that you put in is supposed to leave. And yet we're supposed to be a sovereign country. And now they're saying, oh, well, there are gang problems, there are drug problems, there's this, there that. Well, because we're not allowed to run our own country because you put in whoever you want. And just like over here, we just talked about elections and how important it is and how the people should have a say in it. They're not allowing Haiti to do that.
I don't think they ever will.
Well, if they could help it, they never will because they want Haiti to fail, because that way they could say, look, you know, you cannot be a successful country because we just would not allow you. It used to be that they wouldn't let Haiti be a successful country because we're neighbors to the United States, and you can't have a country of sovereign Black people being in a neighborhood where you are enslaving Black people and telling Black people that they were just that God created them to be enslaved. And so that's one of the reasons why they started, putting their knees on Haiti's neck, as you might say, and it just continued over the years. I think that if instead of the United States saying, well, we need to come in, they need to say, well, we need to schedule an election and have that done. And I think people will be like, oh, okay, then we get to vote for who we want. And that's also another thing. Even during the election, there's interference from the United States. So nothing is done because the Haitians want it done. And I'm not saying that we're perfect. You know, I mean, we have issues, but every other country has issues. And, you know, they deal with their issues the way families deal with issues. Martha, you had a question?
Yes, it's more like a comment. I saw a documentary about a gentleman named Barbecue in Haiti who is bringing the people together, and he's trying to prevent the gang warfare. Have you heard about him? Barbecue?
No, I have. I'm trying. It sounds familiar.
Okay.
But I wouldn't be surprised because it's something that we work on often, which is let's get together, let's get, you know, the United States and foreigners outside of our country so we could actually get things done. I mean, you could just imagine if you're a family and people are constantly coming in telling you, hey, this is what you should be doing. You shouldn't listen to her when she says do the dishes. You know, she should do the dishes, or she should have somebody else do the dishes. No, you shouldn't listen to him when he says that, you know, the lawn needs to be mowed. You know what I mean? It's like there's constant interference. And then on top of that, you do have greedy people who are willing to sell whatever they can out of the country, you know, and pocket it.
Do you
So you
see
do
what I
have
put
to-
up on the screen?
I see that. Yeah. See, a lot of people don't know that.
I
That
oh,
the baseballs for America's pastime, you know, are made in Haiti.
right. Most people don't know this, and this is a recent article that baseball is upset with what's going on in Haiti because they're not able to get their baseballs. So you're talking about a billions of dollars of industry of rich white owners are probably more concerned about their baseballs than they're concerned about the people of Haiti. So this is not so much concern about are they concerned about Haiti and its livelihood. Americans are concerned, the American company, the American complex, military complex is concerned about what they get from Haiti.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And like I said, there's constant interference with what should be internal matters that a country could work to itself. We have lots of resources that we could use. We have, I think we have some of the most intelligent people in the world, to tell you the truth. Our education system is phenomenal for those who can afford it.
But when people think of Haiti, what they don't know, if they've never been there, the only thing they think of is the poverty, the sickness, the AIDS.
Mhm.
That's all they know. That's all they hear. That's all what's ever going to be pushed in the media. So
Yeah, exactly. But then they don't say
Also-
who brings that thing into Haiti either.
We also have to think about the Clintons and the Rodmans when we think about
Yes.
Haiti.
Yes, that's true. They
Their
have
ties
made
to this-
millions of
their
Haiti.
ties to the
Yeah.
American government and see how they play into this scenario as well.
Yeah, so for a country that has no money, it's kind of interesting how all these people manage to get all these millions out.
Mm.
Well, how do you get blood from a stone? So they know Haiti has a lot of money. It's just that Haiti also has a lot of people stealing its money.
Right.
I think Roger Clinton, you know, he's made millions of dollars off of investments that he has made in Haiti.
well, just
And
think of
earlier-
Johnson and Johnson. Their products are done in Haiti. Most of Johnson & Johnson's products are done in Haiti, and it's all about cheap labor. You know, to me, I don't think the United States, we have talked about reparations, we have talked about certain things, but I don't think the United States has still gotten away from its mental process of cheap labor. No matter how they get it, when they get it, or whoever they get it from. Whether you're a black, they could care less about your racial ethnicity. They are just looking for cheap labor. I think that's why the education system is being demolished as it is, because why educate a community or the people coming up when you can force them into cheap labor? I think that's
Exactly.
Well,
That's Claudia
well,
Booker. Welcome, girl.
hey, how are you? I think let me interject my thought here on the aspect of cheap labor. A part of that I tend to agree with. However, I think that students still are making choices here. They have a choice to listen and learn. They also have a choice to go to graduate school, community college. They can go to law school. They can go into engineering. All of those options are available. So even people now, granted, you have the former president of and CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates, who did not finish Harvard University and did well for himself.
He had an
So
inside track, though. His
he
father.
had an inside track. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, he had an inside track. But I think that there are also scores of people who did not have an inside track that did finish college, did
Yeah, well,
start a
like Mark,
business.
like Mark Zuckerberg, who stole an idea from those two football players. So I'm kind of tired of hearing these stories about how these people become multi-millionaires or billionaires even without having to finish college, because just like Dr. Dyer said, they have an inside track or they steal somebody else's ideas.
They had an inside track, but I think that options that are before us, right in front of us, like, do you want to play football? Do you want to play basketball? Do you choose not to do either of those? Do you want to go to engineering school? Do you want to become a civil engineer? Do you want to become a biologist? Do you want to become an astronaut? Do you want to become a politician? Now let's start there, right there. There are criminals that file a certificate of candidacy and run for office. So, it's not about how well educated they are at all.
You're
We
talking
didn't
about
do that.
Trump. You're talking about Trump because he just got caught for fraud, didn't he?
Yeah,
well,
but
his company, not him
in-
personally, his company.
But he just gets
Miranda-
slapped with a $1.6 million fine for that, as opposed to all of the millions that would really taken. I mean, that's probably a win in his case.
It is a win.
And
Exactly.
he doesn't get, I mean, it went to his CFO, it wasn't him, so we have to get better.
That is such an excellent point, because Trevor Noah yesterday, I think it was yesterday's program, when he started off saying, before the election, we were hearing all this about crime. Oh my gosh, crime here, crime there, crime everywhere. And how people were stealing things. They would, right? Before the election, that's what we were hearing about. And he talked about how the biggest criminal in America are actually the corporations in terms of wage theft.
Well,
Because I'm going to put that link in the chat for you guys so you could pay attention, so you could watch it, because it is so eye-opening.
Well, not only that, you also have criminals in Congress. You have in Congress. You can
And they protect
add
one
another
another.
layer there.
Mhm.
Because they've been charged, indicted, all of that. History has proven that. And
Yes.
even, okay, Nixon resigned, but Spiro Agnew, Spiro Agnew still had criminal issues. And, in Anne Arundel County, John Leopold, a former county executive that was convicted of a crime, ran again. So,
do you think that people, if they're convicted, I'm not saying charged with a crime, should have to resign their public office? Should it be mandatory?
Well, it could depend on the circumstances.
No. I'm talking about convicted of a crime,
Convicted of a crime.
Convicted of a crime. And I'm not
Okay,
talking
my-
about
my
stealing
issue-
candy. I'm
okay.
talking about a crime, a felony.
My, okay, my
Okay,
issue with
is
this.
the crime a felony or a misdemeanor?
Okay, my issue,
Felony.
and no, my issue in reference to that question is, it is hard to answer that question. And the reason for that is because not everybody is tried. You could only be convicted if you're tried. But if the prosecutor won't bring a case against people that they know,
Hmm.
you know, has actually done something, but they're friends or they're in their network, or, you know, it's so-and-so, but then they'll bring up a charge against somebody else. The same thing that I was just talking about in reference to prosecutors do not bring wage theft, wage theft charges against corporations and
That's a
hold
good.
those people,
Yes,
those
that's a
people
great point.
criminally liable, but they
Yes.
will hold somebody who steals, like, you know, like a
50 cents.
somebody who called me, somebody who steals something that Walmart was selling for $4.99.
And $4.99, yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
why it's hard to answer that question, because
It's
it's
also
not.
hard to answer
Yeah.
that question
Mhm.
because you have to also factor in, are all things equal? Do you have
Exactly,
a
and they're
dysfunctional
not.
or functional judicial system?
Mhm.
All
Yeah.
right. If you can't answer that question, do you have a functional or dysfunctional judicial system? If the answer is dysfunctional, then, you know, I'm sorry, you know, that factors into my answer to that question.
Yeah, because people
every-
will
you know,
go, they'll go after their enemies, they'll go after people
exactly.
that they see as a threat, they'll go after people that they see as weak or other than themselves, but they won't go after people.
They won't go
that-
after themselves now. They won't go after themselves.
other than themselves. They'll go after
Right.
those people, but they won't go after people that they identify with. And
Just
that's
like-
the issue.
Just like Gilliam in Florida. You know, to me, those are trumped up charges. And if he's convicted of them, I think that they were politically motivated charges, and all things are not equal. And it's a dysfunctional system. And the whole purpose of them going through that charade is to disqualify him or make him not run for
Run.
governor of Florida.
That's right.
That's my thought on that.
Hey, yeah, well, I agree with you. I think it's not so much whether they convict him or not. They're convicting him so he's not able to have a strong campaign or not run at all.
Or poison the electorate,
Or poison the
turn the
electorate,
voters
right.
against him,
Yep.
all of that.
I think that's all it is. I think that's all it is.
Mhm, exactly. And I really wanted to discuss Evangelist Miners. Well, what she wanted to discuss about the pastor who is planting marijuana at his
What?
church.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The
Yeah,
pastor,
so
Jamal Bryant, I think he's in Georgia, Newburgh.
Reverend Jamal Bryant is actually formerly from Maryland. His father is Dr. Bryant, a former pastor of Bethel AME Church, and his mother, Dr. Cecilia Bryant, is also heavily involved and connected into the AME circles and AME churches.
Yeah, but Pastor Jamal Bryant. He
so
was on Cheryl Jackson's show today, and he was speaking of wanting to utilize the land to plant cannabis, and he wants people who smells like marijuana.
so is he planting it to sell?
Yeah,
Is he
it's-
planting it to?
Sell and to help people to become employed, and it's a big article about it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, that seems to be very
Yeah.
controversial.
Yeah,
Yes. The name of the church is Newburgh. He replaced
Eddie
One
Long,
minute,
Pastor
Eddie-
Eddie Long.
yeah.
one more minute.
But why though? I mean, if it's decriminalized, like we said,
yeah.
instead of planting soybeans, he's planting marijuana.
And cannabis.
Cannabis is. I don't know enough about the issue, but and so I would say let it no longer be a crime at the federal level before you start doing that, you know. But if that were to happen, because it looks like that's the way that's leaning, if that were to happen, then I say, hey, that's a good way for the church to raise money
Okay,
People want to purchase from them.
will the governor, the new governor in Georgia. allow
Brian
the-
Kemp,
will the new-
Governor-elect Brian Kemp. Yeah, he's the governor, current governor.
Right, will he allow this to take place?
I don't think it's up to him. I think it's up to the
yeah.
federal government.
It's up to the federal government. It's not up to Brian Kemp.
Well, actually, you know what? It's also up to him because I don't think Georgia has decriminalized marijuana.
Yeah, that's the
possession
question.
and
Did
going
the
up-
state
Yeah,
decriminalize?
yeah. So
it?
it
I don't know.
up to the governor and the feds.
Well, we hit our 7 o'clock mark.
I gotta go. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Will.
Bye, Will. Thank you.
I'd
See
like
you
to thank
guys next
everyone.
week.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening to You Be the Judge. We'll be here again next week from 6 to 7 p.m. every Wednesday. Judge Clary Barber, I know we didn't get an update, but how was your week before we sign off?
Very good. Thank you. I'm blessed. I am grateful to be here and I had a busy week last week and this weekend, but you know, God is good.
Well,
All the time.
be safe
Safe,
and be
everyone.
kind, be compassionate, and bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone,
Peace.
for joining us. See you next week.